Aaron stood outside his small apartment and looked at his old shoes. They had holes in them, but they were all he had. He took a deep breath and said a quiet prayer. In his hands, he held an old bag with papers inside. These papers were very important to him. They were his only hope for a better life. He walked out of the tiny room where he lived with his young daughter. Today, he had to walk 12 miles to get to an important meeting. 12 long miles stood between him and his dream of getting a good job. He had no money for a car. His old bike was broken and couldn't be fixed. The little bit of money he had was only enough to buy food for his daughter Sophia. He couldn't even pay for the bus ride. But Aaron was strong in his heart. He was ready to walk every single step to reach that big office building. The sun was very hot, and soon his shirt was wet with sweat. His legs started to hurt before he had even walked 1 mile. But Aaron kept walking. Every step he took was like a silent wish. He couldn't fail today. His daughter's whole future was counting on him. If you like stories about being kind to others, giving people new chances, and never giving up, please click the like button on this video. Leave a comment telling us what you think. Share this story with other people. And don't forget to subscribe to Kindness Corner. When you support us, we can share more stories that make people feel good inside. Aaron never thought his life would become so hard. A few years ago, everything was different. He had a good job working in a big warehouse. He lived in a nice house with his wife, and they had many dreams together. But then something terrible happened. His wife got very sick and had to stay in the hospital for many months. After she died, Aaron was not just sad. He also had no money left. He had spent all his savings trying to help his wife get better. The bills kept coming, and soon he couldn't pay them anymore. Then he lost his job too. Now, everything Aaron did was about taking care of his daughter. He wanted to keep Sophia safe, make sure she had food to eat, and try to make her smile even when things were very difficult. As he walked down the long road, many cars drove past him very fast. The people in those cars didn't even look at him. To them, he was just a man walking on the side of the road. But to Aaron, every car that passed by reminded him of what he used to have. He remembered when he had his own car and didn't have to walk everywhere. He thought about how he would look when he finally got to the office. His shoes would be dirty, his clothes would be wrinkled, and his face would show how tired he was. Still, he refused to go back home. He kept practicing what he would say in the interview, hoping his voice wouldn't show how worried he really was. Far away, in a tall glass building where Aaron was walking to, a woman named Vanessa Cole sat by her office window. She was the boss of one of the most successful shipping companies in the whole city. Most people called her the Iron Lady because she was very tough and made hard decisions. She was the kind of person who walked into meeting rooms and everyone listened to what she said. But Vanessa had her own difficult story. She grew up very poor, got good grades to earn scholarships for school, and had to work very hard in a world where people didn't think women could be successful business leaders. She never forgot where she came from, even though she didn't talk about it very often. That morning, Vanessa had told her driver to drive slowly while she looked over her notes for the day. As the car moved through the quiet neighborhood roads, she looked out the window and saw something that caught her attention. There was a man walking in the very hot sun, holding an old bag close to his chest like it had his most precious things inside. She watched him through the dark window of her car, curious about why he looked so determined. Something about the way he walked reminded her of herself when she was young and fighting to make her dreams come true. She told her driver to stop the car a few streets ahead, and she quietly watched as the man walked past, not knowing that someone important was watching him. Aaron finally reached the tall building just a few minutes before his appointment time. His shirt was completely wet with sweat. His mouth was very dry and his legs were shaking, but his spirit was still strong. He went to the bathroom, washed his face with cold water, fixed his shirt collar, and walked into the big lobby. The woman at the front desk gave him a polite smile, but he could tell she was surprised by how tired he looked. Aaron smiled back and sat down in a chair to wait. He kept practicing what he would say over and over in his mind. In the meeting room, Vanessa walked in carrying a folder with information about all the people who wanted the job. But she already knew which person she was most interested in meeting. When Aaron walked into the room, his eyes got big because he recognized her as the woman he had seen in the car window earlier. He hadn't known then who she was, but now, sitting at the table across from her, he realized he was talking to the most important person in the company. The interview started. Aaron spoke honestly about his past work experience, the skills he had learned, and how hard he was willing to work. He didn't try to hide the fact that he had been struggling to find work and that life had been very difficult for him. His voice started to shake when he talked about his daughter Sophia and how everything he did was for her. He didn't try to use fancy words or pretend to be someone he wasn't. He simply told the truth about a man who had lost almost everything but still had hope and determination. Vanessa listened very carefully to everything Aaron said. She could see past his old shoes, his sweaty clothes, and how exhausted he looked. What she saw was strength, quiet courage, and the love of a father who would walk 12 miles in the burning sun just to try to build a better future for his child. After Aaron finished talking, the room was completely quiet for a moment. Even though he was worried he had said something wrong, Vanessa's heart was deeply moved. She saw in Aaron not just someone who could work for her company, but someone who reminded her of her younger self, the person who had walked difficult paths with nothing but hope to keep her going. The rest of the interview seemed to go by very quickly. Aaron left the room not sure if he had done well or not. This time he decided to walk to the bus stop, hoping he had made a good impression on the important woman. He didn't know that Vanessa had already decided to give him the job. By the time he got home and gave Sophia a big hug, the phone started ringing. It was someone from the company calling to tell him he got the position. It wasn't just any job. It was one that paid enough money for him to finally start building a good life again. The next morning, when Aaron came to work for his first day, Vanessa asked him to come to her office. She didn't tell him that she had seen him walking that hot day. Instead, she talked to him about working hard, being strong when things are difficult, and getting new chances in life. She explained to him that people who fight against tough situations often become the strongest and most valuable workers in any company. As Aaron listened to her words, his eyes filled with tears because he was so grateful. For the first time in many years, he felt like the heavy weight he had been carrying was getting lighter, and that his daughter's future looked much brighter. Many weeks went by, and Aaron did excellent work in his new job. He worked many hours each day, but he never complained about being tired. Every evening when he came home to Sophia, he brought not just food and the things they needed, but also stories about hope and how much better their life was getting. Sometimes Vanessa would see him from her office window, walking with his head held up high, looking much more confident than before. She never said it out loud, but she felt very proud that she had given someone like Aaron a chance to succeed. Deep down, she believed he had earned that chance long before he ever walked into her office. He earned it the moment he decided to walk those 12 miles instead of giving up on his dreams. The story about Aaron's long walk slowly spread throughout the company. Other workers began to respect him not just as someone they worked with, but as someone who inspired them. They would whisper to each other about the man who had walked in the burning sun, carrying nothing but determination, and had won the respect of the CEO without even knowing it. Even though Aaron stayed humble and modest, his journey reminded everyone that sometimes the biggest victories start with the hardest steps you have to take. If this story made you feel good inside, please like this video and share it with your friends and family. Subscribe to Kindness Corner and leave a comment below. When you support us, It helps us continue bringing you stories about kindness, hope, and second chances. Special request. Write a comment below with these words. Hope lives here. If you believe in being strong, getting second chances, and never giving up. Aaron's life didn't magically become perfect overnight. There were still bills to pay, still challenges to face, and still days when he felt very tired. But now he also had a steady job, respect from other people, and the knowledge that he wasn't fighting his battles alone anymore. Every time he looked at Sophia's happy, smiling face, he knew that those 12 miles he had walked were worth every single step he took. And somewhere in her corner office high up in the building, Vanessa Cole smiled too, knowing she had seen something truly amazing. She had met a single father who didn't walk just to get a job, but who walked because of love, hope, and the unbreakable connection between a parent and their child.